I'm JD. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe. Please hit like. Please keep watching. So this morning I was watching the Olympics again, just to look at that Australian breakdancing. I think after I get my new hip, I may try out for the Australian breakdancing team. Not sure how you feel about it, but I think I got a chance. But I don't know if Australia will be submitting a breakdancing team for the next Olympics, or even if that breakdancing will be in the next Olympics. It's kind of a crazy thing to have in the Olympics. So anyway, today we're going to have a look at this pocket watch here. This is a Rode pocket watch, and it's from Barry. And I was waiting for a mainspring, because as you can see by this mainspring, the center of it, it has snapped. So this is in pretty poor condition. It snapped. So it needs a new mainspring. It's been completely washed. Other than that, I'm not sure what else might be wrong, but I'm going to reassemble this. But the first thing we're going to do is pop that mainspring in the barrel if I'm lucky. And if I look at the barrel type very closely, I can see that it is not one of those T mainsprings. So I might be lucky. I may be lucky that it's not a T mainspring. So let's have a look at that. There it is there. And there's the barrel, and there's a little knobby thing there, and I think I'm good with installing this into the mainspring, into the barrel. Let me see if I can speak English this morning. And these were the dimensions I looked at here. I had anywhere from 0.127 to 0.125 for the strength of the mainspring. It's basically how thick the mainspring is. If I lift it up with my tweezers, it's kind of that thickness with my tweezers. And then I have the width of the mainspring, and that width is just like I say, it's the width, and that's got to fit into the barrel, right? So the width is so critical. You don't want it to have too big, or you won't be able to fit the lid back on the barrel. So that's the width of that mainspring. And if you don't know the length of the mainspring, you can go by the barrel, the outer diameter of the barrel. And or the inner diameter of the barrel, and you're going to get a general idea of the length. This is probably like a 350 or a 400, not sure. But then you look in the mail, and I buy from cousinsuk.com, and this is what came in the mail, and it came in this nice little jar. I'm going to move everything out of the way so I don't drop it onto the part. And when you open this up, if I can open it up, I haven't opened it up yet. Thing is not easy to open. I may get a pair of pliers and see if I can wedge it open or push down harder. Oh, there we go. Snap! I'll have to save this box for something else because it's quite the box. It's a GR45, what is that? 4553, GR4553, and let me open the little case here. And the value of going to cousinsuk.com is that you don't have to know the specific brand of the mainspring. You can just put the dimensions in. It'll give you a search, and it'll give you all kinds of options. So that's what the mainspring looks like. And just out of curiosity, does the barrel fit over this thing? Let me see here. I think it does. So there is that possibility then of pushing this mainspring into the barrel from this holder. So I think I'm going to try doing that. I have to make sure it's wrapping in the right direction. You can do that by looking at the barrel itself, and if I can find where the hook is in that barrel, then I can determine which direction it's going in. Let me see if can I find that hook. Focus is always, it's not just a shitty car, as I've always said. So I can see the opening there on the top, right there, and that's where that mainspring would slide in. And it's likely hooking. Let me see, is there any way of determining where it's hooking? Let me turn the light on my camera here so you can see a bit better. I think I gotta stop thinking. It looks like there's a bevel right here, and it looks like it's flat straight up and down on the other side. So the hook is probably on this side, which would mean the mainspring would go this way. which would be clockwise into the barrel. So I believe. So we'll see. I'm going to have a closer look at this so I don't screw it up. And as well, I usually take photos of the mainspring in the barrel. So I said clockwise. Let's go see if I can find a photo. All right, there's the photo I have. It looks like it actually goes counterclockwise, not clockwise, which is crazy. Yeah, it looks like it's going, well, actually, no, it's going clockwise from the center, so, which is good. Yeah, clockwise from the center, I believe. I believe. Yeah, and I'll have another look at that barrel to make sure I'm not off. So there it is there. I think it's clockwise from the center, and it ends up going there. So I'll check that out a little closer, and then we'll just pop that into the barrel. Now the other thing you can check is the barrel hook, and as you can see, the hook is right here, which means the mainspring would go into the slot and go in the clockwise direction to hit that barrel hook on the arbor. And if I look at this barrel, I put the arbor back in place, made sure it was in the right position, meaning I've got the right interface happening over here, and that is, I'm not going to have any issues. So I did take a very small screwdriver, even though this has been cleaned, and I took a very small screwdriver, and on the inside of this, you can see, I'll show you, you can see even if this goes through the cleaning machine a few times, there's always leftovers of some sort on the edge here. So I try to clean that off, so I've got a perfect interface between the lid, and I'm trying to do this under camera here, but the lid and the barrel. So it's generally pretty clean, but you can see there's areas that the cleaning fluids just won't get off, and you can take those off with a very small screwdriver. That's if you care, right? And I care. I make sure that all that is cleaned up. So I'll do that. I'll dab all this Rodico so there isn't any leftover stuff. I'll put my glove on. I'll roll the wheels in Rodico to make sure that the wheels are the teeth rather on this barrel are in good condition, and then I will pop that barrel back in. Now, like I said, I will pop that mainspring back into the barrel, and like I said, it's going to go in this way, clockwise. This is the broken one, which means this one here is going to go in this way. So, there's just a very small opening on the end of this here, and that has to feed in that way. So with any luck, I'm able to just push this in. If I can't push this in, then I can probably use a spring winder with this to wind that in. But I'll see if I can push that in first before I get my spring winder. Now to push the mainspring into the barrel, you have to have one of the pushers from your mainspring toolkit. So I'll show you what I got here. Move all this out of the way. And so I've got this kind of a toolkit here, and it is, let me just switch cameras for a second. So this is the mainspring winder kit that you get. It's funny how this thing works. It doesn't seem to ever fit in the right place here, right? So maybe it goes in just like that, or maybe this is flipped the other way. But then you've got a problem with this handle not being in the right place. So I'm not sure about this silly wooden block. But you've got all these different winders here. This one obviously is not fitting in right here, so maybe it goes over here. Don't know. So if I pull this one out, put it here, it still doesn't fit. Doesn't seem to be a good place for this. Seems to be kind of unaligned or something. Maybe it's back here. I don't know. It's got to be a place where it's not interfering with the rest of the inserts. So I may have this whole thing backwards. Anyway. But I want to pick a pusher that's slightly smaller than the mainspring, so I'm able to push it from its aluminum holding ring into the barrel. So this pusher is, the mainspring fits, or this fits over nicely. So I think, I'm not sure whether I can push that in. It fits over with a little bit of, it's a little loose, right? So I think this is too big for the job. So maybe I need a smaller pusher. It's a bit of a guessing game here. So this pusher here is the right size, but then it doesn't go over the top of the mainspring. So this isn't good enough. So maybe it is that pusher, but I've got to find the right one where I can push that down flat, and it's going to push it all the way in. So let me just keep looking for other. Oh, there's another one hiding here. There's a pusher here that might work. So this goes over the mainspring. That's a little bit tighter here, and the pusher. I look at the diameter of the pusher. Is that going to be too wide? Perhaps. Don't know. So let's set this up and try to see if I can push this in. So, and I would take the barrel here and place that down, and I'm going to place that onto likely a steel block so it doesn't move. So I'll take this as my block here, and because I want this to be firm in there, and put that down like that. And then there's a small lip here that I have to pay attention to. And I'm going to go to my other camera now so you can have a look at that lip. So there's the lip I'm talking about right here. And that mainspring also has a bit of a lip on it. I have to make sure where the mainspring actually unwinds and contacts that, it's lined up with that lip. So when I drop it down like that, generally it's aligned with it, because I know when I wind this, if it's not aligned with it and this lets go, it'll find the lip. So this is not as difficult a mainspring to install as some of them that have the T on them and other things, where I have to actually use a mainspring winder to get that into the barrel. So I'm going to try to push that in. Now I do have another set of Swiss mainspring winders that I think will be more accurate than the ones I was going to use, the pocket watch ones I had. So I'm probably looking at a barrel of 10 or something. So I think this one is too small, but I think these mainspring winders, these have a pusher on the end here, and I think that might be more accurate than trying to use the pocket watch mainspring winders. So I'm going to attempt to use these instead and see where I get to find the right size. All right, it looks like I've got the right size here. I'll be pushing from this side for this thing to go in counterclockwise. But if I look at this, and look how this fits in, it is absolutely perfect. There's no movement at all. So when I push down on here, it's going to push that mainspring right through, which should be perfect. So let's go and let's try this out and see what happens. Now just to let you know, I've already pegged out the hole here. I've Rodicoed the complete mainspring. Like I said before, this should be hooking in this way, but I have to make sure that where the mainspring goes in. Let me see how this works here. Yeah, okay, I can see it going in. There's a gap here, and I got to meld that up with the mainspring here. So I'm just going to see if I can do that, and it looks like it's fitting in there and moving around with the spring. So I'm going to check that out to make sure it's aligned properly. So that's perfectly aligned. So the extra, or the piece of mainspring here they have soldered on or welded on here, is this piece here, and it's aligned with that gap. So now we're just going to see if we can push this thing in and be successful. So I just put this over the top of the mainspring like that, carefully. So make sure it's all the way around, and then I'm just going to go bam really fast and see if I can push that in. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, bam. All right, it didn't move. Oh frig, it's almost in, isn't it? Now in this case here, it looks like it's friggin' in there almost, but not quite. I think it's not in. Not absolutely sure. Oh no, it's in. Or is it? No, it's not in. So I'm going to get a pusher that's a bit smaller. I'm hoping this thing just doesn't go bam, okay? Because if it goes bam while I'm sitting here, it's going to be mainspring all over the place. So I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm going to get a pusher that's slightly smaller than that one and put it right over the top like this, right over the top edge like that. And I'm going to finish the pushing job with this thing here. Now I'm not sure, is that in? Yes, it is. So that's in. So now I've got it in, and I've got to make sure it's all the way in. And you can just lift it up and see whether it's all the way in here. It looks like there's still a bit left over here, but I can probably use the pusher here to flatten that out. Just to make sure that spring's all the way in. If it's not all the way in, then you're going to have issues with getting the lid on, which is not good. And then we'll check that out and make sure I've got it all the way in. I'll be right back. Now in this case, the spring did not pop all the way in like it would do if you use a spring winder. So all you do is take a screwdriver, go along the edge, and wherever you find that the spring is up a little bit too high, just push it down with the screwdriver blade, and that will work perfectly. So there's no harm. Make sure your screwdrivers are dressed properly so you can do that. I'm going to rub this whole damn thing down with Rodico as well, so to not leave any oil fingerprints, although my hands are very clean right now. I do find this kind of work is almost impossible to do with those big black gloves on that I normally wear. So that's that there. And all I need to do then is put the arbor back in to the barrel. I don't know whether I'll put oil on the spring or not. It's kind of it's a toss-up sometimes, but all I need to do is install the arbor here and get the arbor and the hook lined up properly, and then I should be good to go. So that's pretty much it. I don't need to show you how to put a cap back on, I suspect, and we'll do that, and there'll be a final spring. So I'll get the cap on and I'll get everything settled in. I'll get the arbor back in where the hook is. So that's good enough for today. That's it. So this is a brand new spring pushed into a barrel. It's hard to get the pusher diameter, because this diameter, the spring might fit in here, but then the pusher is only going to be slightly smaller, which means it won't be able to be smaller than the ring that you're trying to use. And if you use a pusher that has a diameter that has the pushing part is the right diameter for the spring to push it in, then the lip of this pusher will fall through. It won't, basically you won't be able to get the spring in here into the hole here, so you're screwed there. So you get it close enough, you get it down close enough, use a smaller size pusher, push it all the way in, and then adjust it with the screwdriver blade. I think that's the best thing to do. The other thing I've seen people do is to take the spring out of here, transfer it to one of these pushers backwards. I'll say the other way, this way here, and then actually to be transferring it this way here into the pusher, and then using this pusher to transfer it into the barrel. So that does work, because these will fit into the barrel first, and then this will obviously be smaller, and it works perfectly. So that's another way of doing it, but this seemed to work without a problem. So that's it for the video today. We'll just call it pushing in a mainspring. All right, one more dirty hand technique. So this here, what I normally do to get the arbor in is I line up the back first of the arbor, so I know that thing is relatively lined up. And let me look at it, because I don't think it is. Let me just look and see how I'm doing here. So it needs to go the other way, right? So I've got it sort of relatively lined up like this, trying to get this in camera here and focus. And let me focus this a bit for you, just so it doesn't look so far off. This is with my microscopic camera, so it's a little trickier. Then I take the smallest screwdriver I have, and I just get it between the arbor and the mainspring, and I twist it. And that'll lift that up, and once I've lifted it up, I'm able to sink the arbor in. So there, the arbor is in. And then after I've done all of this nice stuff, I'm going to Rodico this to clean it up a bit, just to make sure there's no leftover finger stuff in there that could hamper the working of the mainspring within here. So now that I've got it in like this, I don't want to be putting the barrel in right now because I know that there might be a problem, right? So you don't know whether it's hooked or working properly until you actually test it. So in order to test it, I'm going to grab a pin vise, and I'm hoping this is the right size. It probably isn't, right? Nothing is ever the right size when you try to grab something, but I'm going to grab the wrong pin vise. I'm going to grab a big pin vise. How's that sound? This is a pin vise I have that's got a needle on the end. So let me just put that down here on the mat for a second. This is a pretty massive pin vise, and I've got a needle in there for other work, and I'm just going to open up this pin vise. So tightening is that way, and I want to grab the arbor here with that pin vise. And if I get out of focus again, I apologize because I'm trying to do this with two hands under a camera, so stay with me. Don't desert me yet. So now I've got it. I've got the pin vise kind of grabbing the arbor. Now I want to tighten that pin vise a bit, and it's not going to damage the arbor at all. And now I just want to turn this while holding the barrel. So let me just grab this, and I just want to make sure I've got it's grabbing the mainspring. And if I look at that there, I think I have success. Again, I'm going to live focus this. Again, apologize for the live focus, but there we go. So don't push the arbor out, but grab the barrel and just twist that. And as you can see, it is grabbing the mainspring, so the hook is in position. So now you know you've got a good hook in there, and you've successfully done this. Now when you take this off, put it, this is again will be out of focus, but just put it straight up like this, loosen the pin vise, and then take the part directly out like that. And that way you're ensuring that you're not going to push that arbor back out and have all kinds of other problems. So that's it. Actually, that's not it. So something else I do before I put this on is I take some oil, and I'll let you know what that oil is in a second, and I put it on the leaf here. Now this may or may not be necessary nowadays because these springs, I don't think these springs are like the old ones, but this will help with any friction caused by the lid if the thing rides up a bit, and this will work itself into the spring. So I've got this, and then I do the other side too, like this. And then one more, like this, that. And then while I have this off, I make sure that I put a little oil here because this is going to be popping through. And I want to have a little bit of oil right there and right there. And that'll just rotate with the lid. So then when the lid goes on, I'm not going to have a problem. And the type of oil I'm using is HP 1300, folks. HP 1300 or Mobius 9104. Now the last thing I'm going to do, because I decided to show you everything, is to pop the lid on. So I've got the lid, make sure it's nice and clean. There's no issues there at all, and just throw the lid on the top there. And I've got the arbor in a hole on the block so it doesn't push through. Now this is a little tough again with gloves on, so it's very difficult. with gloves on sometimes. So you just push it in like there, like that, and then you should be able to just push down on the edges, and that should snap the lid into place, right? So there doesn't have to be a position for this opening, by the way, because this is the opening where the screwdriver would typically, you'd put the screwdriver in there to make sure you've got that, you can pop the lid up, right? So here I've just put it down like this, and I'm just going to push down with my tweezers, although I usually do this with my fingers. But I think I've got it down now. This end needs to go down a bit too. So just push down with my tweezers a bit, like that. And I think I've got this in place. And then I'll take my tweezers themselves and put them over the edge like that, and just press the lid in place like that. So now the tweezers are just parallel, bacon parallel with the with this, and I'm pushing down to flatten that out. So, and if you've got a lid problem, I had another video a while back where the lid just wasn't fitting for some reason. So, and there I just heard a snap, which is always good. You know that you've succeeded at something when you hear a snap, right? So this is just make sure that the lid is level with the edge of the barrel, so when it's riding inside the movement, you don't have any problems there. So now the barrel should be all together now. There we go. That's looking pretty darn good. That's good there. So that's it. That is the barrel, and it is looking like it's in. You can see from that angle there, there's nothing sticking out, so it's ready to go. And just as a last precautionary measure, I'll just roll this in Rodico again, just to make sure there's nothing in the teeth, and keep my other hand away from it. There we go. And you can criticize the heck out of me, but this is how I do it. So that's that. And then before I put this all back together again, I do take the this part here of the lid. I use that same oil that I just noted a few seconds ago, and I put this right on the edge like that, and get a little bit more of that oil, and remember, go in quickly with the oiler and you'll pick up a lot. So as that turns, it'll just spread it around. So no problem there at all. That's it. That's the video. I'm done. I'm out. Tap out, drop the mic. See you later.